Okay, for project 10, what I'm going to show you is how to make your own custom brushes and how to store them actually in Photoshop as well. So we're going to make 6 custom brushes here. You're going to make, the brushes however you see fit. So first thing we got to do is create a new file. This assignment requires 800 by 620 pixels. So 800 by 620. Click create. And we're ready to start here. So let's get off the brushes here for a second. First thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is create 6 layers here. And in each layer is going to display one stroke of each custom brush. So I'm going to click here on the plus sign down below in the bottom layers. We're going to have 6 layers there, one for each brush stroke of a custom brush that we create. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is go to my brush tool right here, and we're going to go up and select the type of brush that we want. Here, I'm just going to start with a hard round brush. Okay, click off of there. Let's bring this down. I'm just using the bracket tool. And also you can go over to window here. If you click on window, the window tab up top, click on brushes or brush settings. And there you can open the window and you can toggle between the brushes and the settings. So that's kind of nice there. And another thing that we're going to do is if we go over brushes, you can see the different types of brushes listed down here. Well, let's go to the bottom one here. And let's create a new brush down here, or a new brush folder, sorry. Under special effects brushes, I'm going to create a new folder. That's what you're going to do. We're going to create a new brush group, right? So click the folder here and call this 10 dash whatever your last name is. I'm going to put my last name here, but yours should be called 10 dash and then your last name. Click OK. And here you can see I've already created one under special effects. So I'm going to drag, I created this one, so I'm going to drag that in there. This is the Leopard Brush. And the reason why I call it that is because if you expand this thing, it's like leopard spots, right? So that was one that I created. So I just dragged it in there. So so what you would do is on this layer here, we'll call this one Leopard over here. Since I already did this one, I'll just add this one to it. So on layer 6, now I'm going to put the stroke for the Leopard brush. And let's make that a little bit smaller. So click once on there. Let's hold down Shift. While you're holding down Shift, click and drag your mouse, and that's our first brush stroke. And that's called Leopard here. You can see there. If I turn this off, then it's called Leopard. So that one's done. So let's start from scratch on layer 5. We're going to create a new one. So let's grab a different kind of brush here. Let's start with maybe Kyle's Ultimate Pastel Palooza. That's kind of interesting. So if you look at that, that's a cool brush as it is already. But now, how can we customize that, right? So let's go over to our brush settings here, and let's start playing around with these things. So dual brush was turned on, so that's kind of interesting. Let's keep that on. And let's click on it and see if we can change things up a little bit with the dual brush setting. That's kind of neat like that. Okay, and let's try scattering it some more here. Okay, it's not doing too much for us there, but let's see what happens when we change the spacing there. Well, it kind of changes it a little bit. Okay, let's try transfer here and see what we get there. Opacity jitter. Oh, that's interesting. That changes things up a little bit there. So I'm going to play around with the opacity jitter and see if I can get a nice effect there. Notice there are just little short wisps, short strokes that way. It's kind of interesting. Let's bring that back maybe closer to where it was. Play with the flow jitter here. And we could even try changing some of these up too. That's a little too much there. Okay, that's not really going to do anything for us. Let's try pen pressure. Okay, and that brings it back. And let's try again playing with the flow jitter. Okay. Opacity jitter. I like that. It's kind of a neat stroke. It's kind of a broken kind of look. Almost like a fingerprint. So I'm going to keep trying to work with that. Let's bring this back a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Finger smudge, something like that. Okay, and then we can also increase the noise on there. That creates a little bit of an interesting variation there. Let's bring back some of the stroke there. I'm going to call that finger smudge. Okay, so that one's different than the first one. So we'll click down here. I'm going to click once. Make sure this top layer, leopard, turn that off. You don't want that brush on there. It'll be a part of it if you do. Click once on here and let's define this brush stroke. So we're going to go up to edit. So again, click once on the canvas, go up to edit, choose define brush preset. We're going to call this finger smudge residue. Something like that. Just because I don't know what else to call it. All right, so click OK. And there it is. And again, we can name the layer now finger smudge residue because that's what we called the brush. Okay. And then again, when we go down to brushes, you'll see it right here. Now we can, oh, notice here it's already in my folder too. So once you create your folder, your brushes are automatically going in there when you're on that folder. So now that's going to go be here. So now I'm going to hold down Shift and draw one stroke of finger smudge residue. Looks very much like Leopard. It's a little darker. But if they look too similar, again, don't hesitate to keep working on trying to turn that into something a little different there. So again, if we go back to, well, let's go back to brushes here and we'll delete that. Click OK. And then once again, keep at it here. Let's bring the spacing back a little bit. There we go. Okay, that's what we want. So again, let's define this brush preset right here. Define brush preset. Again, finger smudge residue. Click OK. And let's go over to brush settings here. Bring our spacing out a little bit so we can show what this looks like the way we intended. Hold down Shift and then drag that over. And now when you turn these on, you got a slightly different look to each one of them. Let's bring that down a little bit more. Okay, let's do it about right here. Okay, we've got to go back to our brush here. Maybe about right there. There we go. And there's our leopard. Okay, so we have two of our brushes here. Now we're going to go on to the next one here. turn these top two off, and let's create a new brush again. Again, I'd go to brushes, or you can go to brush settings here and click on another one here, and let's see what we can make happen. So we're going to use just our regular media brushes. Dry media brushes will work. Let's try this one. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to brushes here. There we go. Let's try that one there. That's Kyle's Real Oils. Let's see what we can make happen with this one. Now, if I go to brush settings, one thing you can also do is change the angle of the brush and how it's going to look as you put pressure onto it. So you see how I can change that, move it around. That's kind of interesting right there. Spacing, again, is something that you can do. And I like that. I like how it creates a different look there. I'm not sure why it's doing that straight line down below. That's really interesting right there. Okay, and then you can try different effects over here, like scattering, for example, is kind of interesting. That's where you can scatter your pixels a little bit. Creates a nice rough texture. I kind of like that. Let's see if we can change up some of the lighting there. Let's try transfer here. Oh yeah, that's looking cool. I love that two-tone look. Wetness jitter is cool too. I like that. It looks cool. All right. Let's go back to brush tip shape here again. We can bring it further apart. I like that. Let's do that. Let's call that tilted forest. I like that. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And we're going to come down here, maybe a little bit smaller. We'll call this tilted forest. So click once here to define the brush. Edit. Yep, define brush preset. We'll call this one tilted forest. Okay, again, if we go to brushes, now we have 3 of our brushes in there. Now here I'm just going to draw a stroke going across there. And again, if you want to show it off a little more, let's change the spacing here, how it's intended to look. Something like that. Okay. So far we have 3 unique brushes. Now it's time to create our 4th. Again, go to your brushes and or let's just take one of these now that are right here under brush settings and see if we can modify one of these. Here's 127. Look at that. So that's kind of neat. Let's see if we can modify this and make a new brush. So we can change the spacing there. That's kind of interesting. We can also look at changing the shape of it a little bit. That creates something unique there. Okay, and then we can work on the spacing, bring it closer together or further apart. I like that. Again, you can play around with the shape of it as well. Let's see if we can bring those in a little bit. That's kind of neato. Love that. That's cool. Now let's work on the color dynamics here a little bit. And I think we're going to find that under maybe texture. Might help us there. Let's bring the brightness back this way. And maybe the contrast. No, let's go here. I'll go the other way. Let's see what we get. Not much different. Okay, let's try depth jitter. That's kind of neat. Okay. And let's try, well, let's see, transfer. Let's try that. That might give us something here. There we go. That's what I was looking at. Pen pressure. It's a good one. Let's bring this back over here. I like that. Versus, let's see what that does. I think I like that one better. Okay. Okay. All right, let's keep looking around here where we can build up. Let's build up there. It's kind of interesting. And let's try scattering too. Let's mess with that a little bit. Not crazy about that. Let's do pen pressure again. Love it. Okay. And let's again mess with their spacing here. So I like that. Let's call that bundle of sticks. Bundle of twigs. Okay. All right, so let's define this one here. We're going to go down with it a little bit here in size, maybe right here. Click once, and we're going to define that brush preset as bundle of stick. Okay, again, if you want to space it out, you can make it so it looks different there. Hold down Shift, draw your line across, and there you have a unique line along with the 3 others. So now we have 4 of our brushes. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit smaller here. Hang on, let me erase this. And we're going to make that brush a little bit smaller like the other ones. And again, hold down Shift, drag across, and there we've got a nice unique texture with our brush. So far we have 4 pretty unique brushes, and that's the idea. So we got to create 2 more here. And layer 4 is, can't remember what we called layer 4. But let's go over and look in our brushes here. Tilted Forest is layer 4, right? So don't forget to name them here. Okay, and then down here we're going to call this one Bundle of Sticks. Okay, 2 more here. So let's see if we can create a unique one on this layer here. Let's turn these off so we don't add those accidentally to our current brush that we're creating. Okay, now let's go back to brush here. And again, let's pick something interesting to work with. Let's try chunky charcoal. That's kind of interesting. That would be one we could work with. Again, let's go to brush settings. Let's try wet edges there. Changes that. Let's turn that off a little bit. Color dynamics. That will change the color of the brush, which is kind of interesting. Okay, and let's go with protect texture. No, we don't need that one. Let's turn off smoothing and see what happens. It kind of roughs it up a little bit. Add a little bit of noise there, maybe. Okay, and then let's look at our texture here and see if we can change a couple things. Here we can change one of the blending modes. Okay, that's color dodge. That's darkened, so that's not helping me. Let's try a lighter hard mix maybe. That's kind of where I think where we are now. Linear light. And finally height. Okay, and let's see if we can make some things happen here. That's not doing too much. Let's bring the brightness down here. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I like that. It's creating some nice fuzzy edges there. That's neat. Okay, I like that. And then what do we got up here? Oh, you can assign a different type of texture. Let's do that. Let's look at grass here. That looks good. Okay. Is there any difference here? Let's see what trees does. No, I guess it doesn't do anything there. If we click invert, again, that's not going to help us. Okay, we'll turn off that again. Let's do color dynamics here and see if we can make something interesting happen here. Purity. Okay, that gets rid of some of the color. Kind of filters it, I guess. And hue jitter. Not too interesting there. Let's do dial. Okay. That's good right there. I like that. And let's try this. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. I like that. I like that. That's cool. And let's try pen tilt. No, that's not doing much. Let's try changing the shape of it a little bit. That's neat. Okay. Let's go with scattering again. Ooh, I like that. That's cool. That's totally unique. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to call that chaos. Microscopic chaos. All right, so again, let's bring this down here, make it a bit smaller, and let's maybe bring back the scatter just a little bit. There we go. So that's good. We'll call this microscopic colony. Something like that. Like, again, for lack of better. So you click down here, click one of the strokes there, and we'll call this microscopic colony. Click OK, and we'll name that one here. There we go. And again, we can take this and erase it and just draw one stroke of microscopic colony here. So hold down Shift, drag your line across. Again, if it needs to be bigger, just blow it up a little bit. You can also space it out a little differently so it looks a little different. So it looks kind of like that when you space it out. Okay, so now we have 5 brushes here. We can grab our move tool and move these around now that we've created our strokes. And so it looks like we have one more to make. So let's see what we can do. Again, let's go back to our brush tool here. We're going to go on the last layer here. Let's turn off all these others for now. And again, if you look in your folder there, you should have 5 brushes inside your folder at this point. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have one more to make. So let's start maybe just with the feathered one like that. Let's see if we can create a textural kind of brush. And let's go to brush settings here. And start with some color dynamics there. Look at that. That's kind of interesting there. Kind of glows on the inside there a little bit. Okay, and mess with the jitter here. Oh, I like that. That's kind of cool. Let's work on the spacing here too. Oh, that's neat. I like that. Brush settings is where we are. Yep. Brush tip shape. We did change that. Okay. That's kind of boring there. Let's go in between there. Maybe about right there. Okay, if we turn off transfer. Okay, color dynamics, let's turn that off. Just get right back to our black there. Wet edges there, that makes kind of an interesting look too. Now if we do use that though, we may want to go back and change some of the other things, the dynamics, the hardness for example. That's kind of interesting. Okay. Just have them barely touch like that. All right. Let's do some shape dynamics here too while we're at it. That's kind of neat. Well, I like that. Let's call that cobblestone. Okay. That's cool. Let's move the spacing back a little bit. Kind of have them touch. Cool. We'll call that cobblestone. All right, so let's define this brush now. We're on layer 1. Again, let's bring it down just a hair. Click once on there, and then we're going to go up to Edit. Define brush preset. We're going to call this cobblestone mess. Or morph. I like that. Cobblestone morph. Click OK. Looking at the other brushes, that's about the right size. Yeah, that's good. So we'll stay on this layer. We'll call this cobblestone mesh. And let's erase that first one. We'll do a stroke. So let's grab this, get rid of that. And now we'll grab our brush here and just draw, again, hold down shift and draw one stroke across. Doesn't look like much there. So let's go to brush settings, tip shape. Let's change our spacing. Hold down shift, and that's what we ended up with. So not that interesting, I guess, right there when you look at it. But that's our 6 unique brushes. Each brush has a characteristic that's unique from the others. And so that's the idea, is to create 6 unique brushes that you can use. And again, in each layer is going to have a different brush stroke across from left to right. And the same brushes or tips that you used can be found, and I'll be looking for this as well, in a folder in brushes labeled 10-your last name. Notice there's my 10-acre. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 brushes there. Then you're going to File, save your assignment. This is going to be called 10-your last name. Just save it as a Photoshop file. Again, that's going to go into number 10, creating custom brushes. And you're going to email the PSD file to me.